Hi guys, I'm really excited about this video. I think I make the best dog boots in the world, and I have a video showing you step by step on how to make those dog boots. And I also have, which is even more important, is a video on how to fit dog boots properly. So I've been making dog boots since about 1991. In about 2002, I came up with what I think is the perfect pattern, and so I came up with set sizes, and I've stuck with that ever since. And the customer response is just overwhelming because they are so absolutely thrilled that they finally found dog boots that don't fall off their dog's feet, and they're comfortable enough for the dog to walk in them. So I will put the links to those other videos in the description box below, and right now I just have 2 other videos. The third video that I'm doing today is the new and improved version to the best dog boots in the world. So I guess we will call this Better Than the Best Dog Boots. I'm not sure what I'm titling it yet. So there's only 3 different things that I do in this video than the last video. And the first thing is the fabric that I'm using for the reinforced bottom. I was having a hard time coming up with the imitation suede at a decent price, so I was forced to look for something new. And I'm way more tickled with this new fabric because it seems to be a little bit more water resistant, and it seems to wear a lot longer, and maybe a little bit, it has a little bit more tread. And so how I sew them together, because it is rubberized, is very different. So that's key. So if you're going to make your own, please stick around for that part of it, which will be coming up really soon. The third thing is that I added the reinforced toe so that the dog's toenails don't poke through the fleece. If you don't know how to sew, ask a friend to help you out. Everybody's got a friend that knows how to sew. So stick around and I'll show you how I go about putting these boots together. Like I said, I'm just so excited. Okay, so in the other video I used the imitation suede, and I teach you how to cut this and everything in the other video. But what was super easy was that you could just put the imitation suede on top of the fleece and simply sew it and end up with a perfect straight stitch. Now what is happening with the rubberized fabric is you cannot put this, well, I can't. I'm using a machine that was from the 1960s, but what was happening is that when I would put the rubberized fabric on the top and the fleece on the bottom, the teeth of the sewing machine would push the fleece back like it's supposed to do, but the presser foot would keep the rubberized fabric in place, and so when it was done stitching, it wasn't being aligned. So what I had to start doing was to start sewing it upside down. Well, you can see that it's really hard to see where you're supposed to stitch. So you can either cut the rubberized fabric a little bit wider than the fleece. You can also feel where you're supposed to be sewing and just kind of guess. You can make little dots with one of those sewing chalk pens, or you could use even a piece of tape to know where you're supposed to be stitching. Now it still kind of pushes the rubberized fabric. So what I was doing at the beginning until I started making a gazillion of these is I would just take the back of the rubberized fabric and add a little bit of non-toxic glue. It says it's non-toxic, but this held it in place. And so I just flipped this over onto the fleece, line it up, and then I would let this sit while I glued the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. And so you still want to make sure that while you are stitching it, that you're hanging on to both pieces of fabric, so that it doesn't push it through. So then you end up with the bottom part of the boot. So onto the top part of the boot, the same thing. Now, what I forgot to mention, that if you're going to be using the glue, you don't want to be putting the glue where you're going to be stitching, because it's going to muck up your needle and really make your day a really bad day. So just make sure that you don't get glue underneath where you're going to be stitching. So then we'll do the top part of the boot. This is the reinforced toe that I'm talking about. And then I'll show you how I put this all together. So something that I did not talk about in my first video is that size medium and up, I use the wider, I think this is 3/4 of an inch wide, one wrap Velcro. And for the smaller sizes, 3X small through small, I use the narrow Velcro. So the bigger dogs need a little bit of extra strength, and so when I'm sewing this, I make sure to sew this in a square so that it's really good and reinforced. So I always start sewing the Velcro to the bottom side of the boot. So then I decided that I probably should show this part about sewing the square together. So what you want to do is make sure that you just stitch once there in the long part of the Velcro, and then when you're stitching where the Velcro is going to be ripped back and forth, I always stitch it 3 times, and then stitch it just once again there, and then again back and forth, so that the two ends are really good and reinforced. The two ends where it's going to get the most wear and tear. So here is the boot all sewn together and turned right side out. And here is the reinforced toe on the boot, and here is the bottom. And the new fabric that I'm using for the reinforced bottom is called Tough Tech non-skid fabric. And I'll put a link in the description box below. I haven't exactly found out the best price to buy it in bulk yet, but you just search for it and you'll find it on the internet. So good luck, you guys, and happy sewing.